Yeah, there was. I brought in the muscle. Folks, welcome to The Orbit. It's a weekly ongoing interview series with just creative professionals. And this week we have MarninSaylor, which is Thomas Marnin and Sky Saylor. And they run a shop out of Pike Place Market. And can you tell me just a little bit about it? What's going on at your booth?
Sure. So Sky and I hand make toys. We have a very specific line of toys, and we kind of create a brand around those toys. We have toys, keychains, patches, stickers, a coloring book, kind of a whole world. So yeah, I'll let Sky tell you about what the toys are, because that's kind of the exciting part.
Okay, so our line of toys is called Pastry Pets. So they are animal/pastry hybrids. Is that the exciting part? I don't know.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
Pretty
I'll
much
tell you-
covered it.
there are donut cats. I'm excited about the donut cats.
Yes.
Okay.
There are maple bears.
Yes, maple bar. If you've had a maple bar, not everyone knows what that is. The maple bar is a West Coast donut.
Yeah,
Okay.
some people call them
Doesn't
a
have the
Long
hole.
John.
You guys have this very specific knowledge of pastries now.
We
So
do.
what else, what other products or characters are there along with the donut cat? I saw recently there was an Easter bunny.
Yes.
Oh yeah, so usually we make a cinnamon bun and honey bun.
Nice.
But we did a chocolate Easter bun for Easter. So it was an all chocolate version of one of our bunny toys, and then it came in a plastic box like a chocolate Easter bunny actually does, with these custom wraps that we made to make the box look really cheesy in that Easter candy kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to brag, but we totally nailed it. We took it
God,
to
yes.
a Bartell's, which is like a drugstore in this area, and put it on the shelf next to the rest of the Easter candy. And like, if you just skimmed, you really couldn't tell the
I
difference.
saw that. I was
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah,
It was incredibly well done.
Thank you.
Tell for that specifically, what went into like start to finish product design to make that?
That story goes back a few years. So Sky and I love kind of cheesy design a little bit. You know, like a few years ago we made a pizza bagel cat, which is kind of a riff on our toy, and also just such a good idea since we already had the form made. You know, we already make the toy, and we made it look just like the trashy pizza box that you get at any generic joint. We designed it to be a little, very reminiscent of it. So that was the first time we really did an intense packaging design. And yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
packaging that was intentionally meant to imitate something else. Yeah. And then, so as far as the Easter Bunny one goes, we did look at a lot of reference photos of like the Palmer brand, specifically
Okay.
Easter candy bunnies, because they have a really distinct style where it's just like the gaudiest rainbow gradient text and like super simple vector illustrations and just like really vibrant and crazy looking. So we really played on that.
Nice.
And then
And you're just saving and printing these or keeping them on a.
we just looked it up
folder.
online, yeah. And so we were able to find actually these pre-made vinyl boxes that were the perfect size. And then what we did was we created an inner and outer paper wrap to go on the box, and then a little riser inside to set the toy on and actually attach the toy to the box with the riser. So it was nice that we were able to kind of use something that we found so that we didn't have to completely build the box, but we were able to customize it enough to give the impression that it was fully
Yeah.
made by us. So yeah, it was a fun project.
It looked manufactured, and so like to hear how it's handmade. When you're finding materials, where are you looking? Is it just you've been doing this so long, you know where to look?
Yeah, the boxes we just found through the same packaging supply place that we use for all of our shipping stuff, so that was really fortuitous. And then we just use the same fancy printer paper that we use for like our business cards and everything, and cut it out on our CNC machine. And then yeah, spray glue time.
It's kind of funny because it's like elevated nostalgia for something that's really cheap. Like, you know, like a chocolate Easter bun, they're going to be like $3 or whatever. And we're
Right.
spending $2 just on the paper that we use to make the wraps. Like, that doesn't include the ink or the time spent. Yeah.
That's still good though. I think it reminds me of like people who try to remake toasters, because you can buy a toaster for like $10, but if you try to make it yourself, it costs like
So
over
much.
$100. So I think people appreciate it. How did they sell?
They sold really well.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a limited edition run, so we started with 50, and those all sold within, I think, a day and a half. And then about 4 days later, we decided to do another run of 20, and those all sold in about 12 hours. And after that, we were like, we're good,
Done.
because
Nice.
those boxes were hard to make.
Yes.
What was the price point on them? The final
64?
68?
64, I think.
64. Yeah, I think
$64
you're right.
limited edition.
Yeah.
That's like for something you were saying like that costs $3 usually, or you're imitating something that costs $3. That's quite a bump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you hit it right on the head where you said, like, we took this thing, like, our whole business is kind of that idea. Like, you're not going to meet other toy makers pretty much. You know, it's mostly designed. Oftentimes in the US, people will design toys, they'll ship over the specifications to China or Malaysia or wherever they're making them, and then they will make them to spec as best they can. But Seattle has kind of a nice craft environment, so there's a few of us out there. There's a few of us at the market, and there are plenty that do craft fairs and things.
Yeah, and the thing with our limited edition stuff was it is a lot more expensive than our regular
Right.
plush, because it's got the fancy packaging and it's got a sticker and they're all numbered, and so yeah, they're just a little bit more expensive than our regular products are anyway, because there's a lot of extra work that goes into them. So.
All that preliminary design work has to be recouped, you know, in a shorter amount of time, since you're only making 70 of them instead of,
Right.
you know,
Infinite.
yeah, as many as we can over the lifetime of the brand.
Yeah.
So they are a bit more, but there aren't going to be them. They're not going to be around anymore, so it's kind of a special feeling.
Do you have like a collector core? Do you have a core customer that's like eating these out? What's that like, or who are they?
So weirdly, we have a really big crossover with people that like American Girl doll.
Okay.
I don't think it's weird though.
Well, I guess it is. I don't know. To me, American Girl is very like classic and just very expected. I guess like I grew up with them, and there's nothing outside the box about American Girl.
Yeah, they're
doll.
kind of classic.
Yeah, they're inclusive, but they're very much like, this is a doll. It's a human. It wears
Right.
clothes. It's just, I don't know. So
Whereas yours takes a little bit of extra effort to get.
yeah, exactly.
That's
So I think it's interesting that we have so many people that like both. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
But I just never would have expected it. So yeah, a lot of the people that follow us that collect American Girl also are like big collectors of our stuff. As far as like a funny story about people collecting our
Yeah.
stuff goes, I guess this was maybe like a year ago. Someone contacted me, I think through Facebook, and it was this guy who was getting married, and his wife really loved our stuff, and he wanted to give her one of the pizza bagel cats for a wedding gift. But at this point, it's been like 4 years
Right.
since we made them, and like we're just not going to make them again. So he was like, I don't know, I just don't know what to do. And I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll just like make a post, see if anyone that bought one like wants to get rid of one. I don't know if they will, but maybe. And it turned out that a girl who bought 2 and ended up getting the 2 most rare ones, because they were blind boxed and you didn't know which one you were going to get.
Ooh.
She actually sold him the number 1 most rare one, of which there's only 1.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Wow.
So to be
Good.
able to connect
That's a wedding
them,
gift.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, it was really awesome to connect those 2 people and like have it be a gift for someone that really wanted it. Was pretty awesome.
It's very cool to me that you have, like, because you're making these by hand, you've created a scarcity, which thus increases the value of them, which is wild.
Yeah, if you see one on eBay, you should.
Right, for real, and just let the value accrue.
Yep. Put it in your safe deposit box.
Let the dough rise.
Yeah. Do you have any friction, do you think, because you make handmade goods, do you ever feel like there's pressure for you to outsource and manufacture at a larger scale?
Yes, for sure. Because living in Seattle, it's like one of the most expensive cities in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And just to create the infrastructure to get your production to the level where you're getting enough kickback to survive is pretty tricky. And we kind of skate pretty close to the line.
Mm-hmm.
And we do get emails from China, from like factories in China that ask us to make, for them to make our stuff. But I think right now it's like we would prefer to have the core objects made here. Like we do make pins, and those we have manufactured, and like we have our own coloring book that we're printing right now, but it would be nice to have a printer do it.
Right.
But yeah, we do think about it.
Well, and I think, your question was, is there pressure to do so? And I think that there definitely is from multiple angles. So there's pressure from within ourselves being like, how long can we sustain this business that's really hard to do and live in the place that we live and not make a ton of money? So it's like, of course, we think of maybe someday doing that. Not that we really want to, but if it becomes a necessity. And then our customers, as much as they love us, some of them would want the prices to be less, I think. So there's pressure from that angle, and if we were to outsource, that would mean that we could do more wholesale and probably just sell a lot more because it would be so much less expensive. And then pressure from those actual factories, like, because they want clients, so they're constantly
asking,
sending out emails being like, we can make this for you.
Do you find that your customer just appreciates the handmade aspect of it, though, and does that almost pay off?
Most of them do.
Yeah,
most of them do, for sure.
Because I know just from like interviewing folks, there's a huge passion, and people value things that are made like they used to be made, things that are made by hand, and also things that are made in the United States.
Yeah.
And so would you think that, is it sustainable to continue making your products by hand?
That's the question.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know. It's we'd like to think so, and we'd like to push this to the point where we can try.
What are the more what do you have planned for this year as far as product development or even growth?
Oh, we have lots of stuff planned.
Yeah? Can you disclose? Is it
top
secret?
Of course.
Okay, cool. What are you excited about?
I think I know what Thomas's answer is going to be.
Well, there's a couple. So I'll tell you guys what we did. The first 3 months we released 3 toys, which is a big deal for us. We released all pink ones for Valentine's. We released a build-your-own sprinkle mini donut cat that you get to name, and we make like a custom sticker on the website in, what was that, March. And then last month we released the chocolate Easter bun. So we're taking a little chill time, and the next things we're coming out with, should I talk about the one that I'm excited about, or should I talk about the ones that we're just doing?
I think you should talk about the one that you're excited about.
The comic?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so I'm working on a comic slowly but surely. I really love to draw, but it's been a long time since I've had time to really dedicate towards that, because we just make toys all the time. So I've started doing a story. It's a little nerve-wracking to put that out into the world, because you want to tell the right kind of story for your audience, and you want to make sure that it resonates and is helpful to people. So I'm really excited about working on it, and I hope that our fans really like it.
I can say, like, as a fan, that I am so there for this. I want to know. I think one of my questions, honestly, is like, I need to know the lore behind this, because you were talking about how a lot of your brand is world building. And this morning I saw a video where you were talking about how one of your donut cats was very athletic when it was hiding.
Yes. And
I was fully engaged. Can you tell me about your world building, or how you developed this, or what's that like?
So I guess it begins kind of at the market, contextually within the booth. I almost play a character when I'm at the booth. I have like a soda jerk hat on and a bow tie. I'm very courteous. I have lots of little puns that I throw in. And so people's first interaction is like, oh, these are like, I don't know, how do they see it? They see it as, kids get it right away. Kids just love it. They're like, it has a face, it's soft, it's cute, it's shaped like a donut. You put it in a donut bag. Like,
yeah, it's hard to not get excited.
Right. And so that's kind of the first stage that most people interact with our brand. And the other world building aspects, like a few years ago we did a field guide, a pastry pet field guide, which had some of the lore, like their deity is called Do Not Cat, which is a do not symbol.
This is superb.
It is both a visual pun and like a word pun for do not donut.
And it's commentary.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think there's two aspects to the world building. There's like the history of where these things came from, and then there's trying to personify them and giving customers an emotional connection, especially with like specific characters. So we've done a little bit of the first, like with the Do Not Cat and some of the other things that we talked about in the field guide, which is now discontinued, so I want to find a way to bring those stories back. But what Thomas is going to be working on with the comic is more of the latter. So, you know, our characters have types. So there's like Donut Cat, Maple Bear, Claire Bear, Honey Bun, Cinnamon Bun, but there hasn't ever been one that has an individual name and identity. So this comic that Thomas is working on follows one mini donut cat that has a name and a specific story.
It speaks.
Yeah. So I don't know. We were always kind of nervous to get into that because we didn't want to ascribe
Specifics.
ascribe specifics to these things. We wanted people to adopt them and love them and make them their own. But we're excited for this little foray and getting to tell some human stories, I guess.
It sounds very fun.
It is.
And it's also just really good marketing, it seems.
Yeah, well, our hope for this is we're going to release the comic in little chapters of 10, because on Insta, you know, you can have 10 in like a swipe.
Yeah.
So they're going to be released on Instagram.
Yes,
That's
and
so
Facebook.
Cool.
So those will hopefully come out every few weeks, and then hopefully by the end of the summer, when we have kind of a catalog of a few chapters, then we want to make a toy of that specific character that you could purchase, and then it would come with like a little zine of the comic.
A printed version.
Yeah. So.
You guys are wildly creative and very innovative. And I'm curious, like, where are you drawing your inspiration, or even just kind of your business plans?
Oh man.
Are they all coming just from yourself? Because if so, that's impressive. Or are you kind of like drawing inspiration from either people or books?
Well, I'll kind of tell the genesis of the first toy.
Yeah.
And then Sky can talk about how she came up with it. So, about 7 years ago, Sky came up with the Donut Cat, and originally it was just a little pencil sketch that she did. And she's always made toys, well, had for quite a few years before that for her younger brother and herself, like things here and there, just cute things that she thought of. And the Donut Cat was meant to just be another one of those, something that we just had that was cute, that was in her apartment. And she shared it online, and some people saw it and asked if they could buy some. And so this one idea, we just kind of riffed on it afterwards. Sky thought of, you know, like, well, we can make a donut-sized one. And at this point, I had been helping her make the big ones. And the little ones just seemed like an obvious transition into something a little more affordable. Like, the big ones have arms, and they have little toe beans.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stitching going on. It's a tricky thing to make. So we started making the little ones, and Sky thought of Maple Bear, just because it was like the perfect pun for a maple bar. It's like,
so there were enough constraints that it's almost a continuous game.
Yeah.
To produce more ideas.
Yeah, we're always kind of thinking of them, and we've been doing it for quite a while.
Yeah.
The first toy was made like 7 years ago, so we've had time to think about the sorts of things we'd like to make. We have a little list in our studio that's about, was it like 35 things long?
Oh, it's probably longer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Coming up with ideas isn't the hard part.
Yeah.
It's like finding the time to make
Do
the
them,
new things.
yeah.
Yeah, because most of our time
Probably
is
have too
just
many
spent
ideas.
Yeah, most of our time is just spent on production, so it's like squirreling away little pieces of time to actually make those new ideas reality is hard. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Tell me about the business side. As far as developing a plan, a budget, as far as what you're doing, do you have any resources or like templates you're using?
Okay, everyone's gonna throw up in their mouths when I say this. We don't and have never had a business plan. We're horrible.
No, I don't think so at all, because this is common for people who are just kind of running with it. They have a good idea and it seems to be working. They don't have a plan. And I am, as someone who lives on plans, I am thrilled and also baffled by this.
It's crazy because I'm also like a very plan-oriented person, but there's just something about doing like this overarching giant master plan for the business that's just like too scary for me. And I've attempted to start it multiple times and never gotten very far. I don't know what it is.
Are you able to like track your profits though on a regular
basis? I mean,
basis?
like bookkeeping and all that stuff, no problem.
Okay.
But as far as like what's your
cash flow?
well, I don't know. Even that's fine. I can
Okay.
handle all of that stuff. It's literally just like a business plan, like writing out
Who are the customers?
Yeah,
What are your resources?
yeah.
Market research,
all
for
that
sure.
stuff. I'm
Right.
just like, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm curious. That's why I was asking, like, who inspires you? Because as far as market research, is there a community of people that are in your niche?
Who inspires us? Oh my gosh, I feel like there are so many things. Well, definitely for me, just like the media that I consumed when I was a kid. That's
Right.
still like such a huge part of me, like books that I read or shows that I watched. I don't know, I feel like they just really informed
Right, it's just
who
a
I
whole slew
Yeah.
of things because
Yeah.
you're an avid reader and art consumer.
Yeah, so I don't know. And then as far as nowadays goes, we're really lucky to know a lot of other crafters. And I don't know that we so much draw inspiration from them, more just motivation. Just seeing that there are other people out there doing it is really helpful. I don't know, where do we get inspiration from? I feel like all of our stuff is just like a bunch of stupid inside jokes that we've had.
Yeah, which is great.
Well, I mean, we could take something like the field guide was modeled after like a 1950s Boy Scout handbook.
Yeah.
This guy's always had like love for 1950s ephemera, like that art style just
Yeah.
has this feeling about it. I don't know how you place
It's
it,
just so earnest.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
and the craftsmanship's so high too, which is
Yeah.
really nice. And they use good materials.
Yeah, it's that nostalgia factor that's probably also fueling what you're
Yeah.
making.
Definitely. And for the comic, I mean, just looking at other like toy or media giants like Disney, it's like, how do you think they make money? I mean, of course, off of the stories, but really off of the things that they sell after they make a story. So we're kind of working it backwards, where it's like we already have this stuff and we're making money off of it, but we
Trying to
would like
reverse
to
engineer
back
it.
it up with the
Right.
story. Yeah. And so I feel like having both play off of each other is just going to help us and strengthen the brand, and I don't know.
Do you have any idea where it's headed?
We have hopes of where it's headed.
Yeah, it's still the physical shop.
Yeah.
We talked about this maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
You were hoping to solidify a physical location in Pike Place. How is that going?
We've kind of taken a little bit of a step back from it. The last year or so, I've really just been trying to like strengthen our web stuff.
I saw that the website got a refresh.
Yes.
Nice.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So really just trying to boost our online sales, because you know we sell a lot of stuff at the market and we sell a fair amount through the website, but it would be really nice to do more online.
What's the split, you would say? How much do you sell online
Oh, man.
versus
10,
what's that?
85-15.
Yeah,
90-10?
85-15, like
Somewhere.
85 in
At
Pike
the
Place.
market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because our in-person experience is just so
good.
strong. Yeah, so finding ways to translate that to an online experience hasn't been the easiest thing. I mean, we still really do want to have the shop at some point because that would make a lot of things possible for us. Like being at Pike Place, you know, we ourselves personally have to make the things that we sell. And so it's hard to grow because we can't hire, like we have
Right.
the people.
If there was an increased demand,
Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to keep up with it.
Which is already the case. Like we already often miss days that we want to go to the market because we just don't have enough stuff and we can't make enough stuff. So it's kind of like this weird catch-22 being a day stall person where it's just like it's super helpful and it's what has allowed us to do our business full time, but it's also just very limiting. So
Yeah, it's tricky.
It's tricky, yeah. So we're trying to find ways to kind of grow past that, and I think that starting with doing better online is a big one, and then hopefully getting to move into the store at some point.
What's your web presence like? How far-reaching are your sales or your interactions, would you say?
Well, we definitely get orders from all over the U.S. and a fair amount of international ones. I think part of that is probably, again, from Pike Place because people from all over the world, and
then they go home and tell people about it.
Yeah, exactly. Or they wish they would have bought it, but they didn't, and then they order it. So yeah, we're lucky, again, to have that for that reason. Our Insta following isn't, like, huge.
It's pretty good.
But people, I mean, a lot of people find us through that as well.
Yeah.
And just random little things. Like last summer at the beginning of the summer, people started coming up to the booth and they're like, we were looking online and this was one of the things that we had to come see. Like there was a list. Someone made a list on Pinterest that visited the market.
Yeah.
And this person mentioned us in there, and now every week we get someone that comes down or around that frequency that comes down. It's like, oh, I found you on Pinterest and we had to stop by. It's very charming.
Nice.
Yeah.
So your interactions, it seems, majority in person and not too much like engagement via online.
Yeah, I would say that's generally true. Like we definitely have, our fans really do care, and so we have some great interactions online, but it's not like, you know, pick your big company, you know, where they're selling most things online. And I think part of that is to do with our inability to share the story online as effectively as at the market in person. Because like we've done some YouTube videos and things, and it's super time consuming to do it well.
Yes.
And it can be nerve-wracking, and you're putting yourself out there a lot in a permanent format, which is, you know, it's just not what we're used to.
Well, and it's definitely something that we would wish that we could spend more time on, but it just goes back to the same problem. It's like right now we just spend so much time making the thing that we sell that trying to carve out even a few hours a week to do like marketing, like YouTube videos or live streams, it's
would
just
take
like
away from production.
Yeah, and it's a hard balance because we got to have stuff to sell.
It's the trend, if you're gonna continue to like make handmade, I would imagine you just gotta raise your prices and raise it to an art status. Is what it seems like. Like gallery openings.
That's possible. We could have a line that sustains itself and then a line that makes money. So we could do that with some higher end toys that are ultra limited edition or something like that.
The interesting thing about toys specifically, and like this has been corroborated by some of the other toy makers that we know, is that people just don't see an intrinsic value in them the way that they might in a piece of jewelry or a painting or any other handmade thing that would take the same or even less effort.
Right, because you figure like they're going to play with it and ruin it.
Yeah, it's meant for kids, it's made from fabric, it's just not, it doesn't have this immediate value to people. So that's been the biggest part of our job, is just finding ways to imbue what we make with value. And a lot of that is sharing the story and showing that it's handmade, and a lot of it is just making it really, really well, which I think that we do.
Yeah. That's apparent.
Yeah, I feel like the production side of things would be not easy, but we could get a pretty good handle on it as far as figuring out how all of that stuff would work with a bigger team, but it's just like